utopia, take away the economy from those who rigged it. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of el Internet. How's everybody doing this morning? I trust we're all doing fine, but we have a lot to discuss. But without further ado, let's throw it to El Estudio, the studio, where we have our resident geniuses, El Señor Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Beba.
Oh, those heinous geniuses are here.
All you heinous geniuses, raise your hand.
Oh, look at all those hands going up out there. There we go. It is a minute after 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 14th of May on the radio, and we have Egberto's wonderful show going on, and it's going to be, and I have no rants for today.
Oh, no! What are we going to do?
I've been taking a break. I've been following this story about Donald Trump being bought out by the Qatars and their offer of a plane of $400 million, which will cost $8.8 billion to rebuild. I think we can get a better deal.
It's a joke, actually.
But there was one comment I wanted to say this. Just saying it's a security risk. And this woman made this comment, said, well, if it's a security risk, like him, being on it when it crashes, we'll take the chance. That's not coming from me, that it's coming from someone else. To clarify, if he wants to be on that plane, fine. I don't care.
Oh, my God.
Enough of this. Jack, you got some wisdom here.
The plane is just a distraction.
Oh, yeah. There are other insidious things going on that we need to pay attention to.
Yes.
And uninsidious here is Jack and his wisdom.
And this insidious thing, good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, Jack. How you doing?
I'm good, sir. All right, the attack on our senior citizens by GOP is appalling, morally bankrupt, and really a chicken poop, wasteful way for the Trump administration to give tax breaks to his billionaire cronies he sucks up to. These billionaires already have more money than Midas, yet they claim a $625 billion savings from Medicaid policies they plan to cut. So this $1 trillion tax break Trump plans to give his billionaire backers will cost many seniors their very lives. Pause.
Yes.
Their very lives. So be proud, billionaires. It's only human life. Remember this karmic truth. What goes round comes round.
Well, yeah, it does. And you remember how wealthy that the folks got off of Hitler in Germany? Look what happened to them.
Darn.
Well, I mean, you don't want to see that happen here, but it could.
You wonder about these guys that are in power. What do they expect the people to do? Don't they think there's going to be some sort of a backlash coming soon? I mean, it's amazing, isn't it?
There will be. There will be. I mean, it's already starting. People taking to the streets, 5 and 6 million people protesting, big signs, hands off our Medicare, hands off our Social Security. What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
When 10 million out there, 12, 15, 30 million people protesting in the streets?
And even Josh Hawley is saying that this is morally wrong.
Oh, yes. And
that's really what...
Is that a man without morals?
Yeah.
The man with the guy who put his fist up during the January 6th attack on the Congress, right? During that what is it called? I don't want to call it the attack. Insurrection. During that insurrection, he pumped his fist. And then when the guys invaded the Capitol, they have all these videos with Josh Hawley running for his life.
Running like a little girl from a bully.
That was so funny. But you know what? Josh Hawley is going to be our star today. Uh, I have to say today I love me some Josh Hawley because maybe some of his proteges would listen to him. But anyway, let me first say welcome aboard Joanna from Los Angeles, California, Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia. And we have in the house, of course, John A. from Substack, including Deb, Gayla Kunis, Judith Dan Cannon. Gayla Kunis says, good morning from Evans, Georgia. Good morning, Gayla from Evans, Georgia. Kat is in the house. Judith Randall. And John A. says, hands off sign waving this weekend. I trust that means you are going to be out there in the field protecting our Medicare. But anyway, look, yesterday during my afternoon program, I was discussing the cuts that's being made to Medicaid, etc. And one of my MAGA listeners came in, you are lying, and shouting in the chat. And I said, ma'am, this is not just what this progressive host is talking about. Your own Josh Hawley, and Josh Hawley could not be confused to be any kind of progressive or anything like that. Josh Hawley is full MAGA after all. During the attack on the Capitol, the insurrection on the Capitol, he was one of the guys ancient these guys on. So if he goes south on these Republicans that are actually trying to cut your Medicare, you don't have to say, well, this came from one of these progressive hosts. You don't. The reality is that if Josh Hawley goes, folks, it's real. But again, we told you. I know many wanted to believe the president when he says there's no cuts that's coming to Medicaid. Even Josh Hawley, in the article that he writes, tries to write the article and tries to get the words of the president to protect him for writing the article. But I don't know if Josh Hawley really realizes that when the president tells his people, I am not cutting Medicaid, he is not telling Congress not to cut Medicaid. He's simply lying to his people with the expectation that whatever needs to be done for his tax cuts gets done. Because even when he floated the idea that maybe wealthy people should pay a little bit more, he said at the end of that sentence, but Congress probably shouldn't do it. I mean, the double talk to get what he wants, the lying to get what he wants, is out there. And the thing about it is, when he's long gone on his Qatari jet, because that's the whole issue. The whole issue isn't really. Let me take this out of the way first. I started the program yesterday, if you guys remember, to tell you that the Qatari jet was a distraction. And I also pointed that out on the afternoon show, that it's a distraction, that there's a whole lot happening that they don't want us to discuss. So they brought up the Qatari jet. They brought up the funding for the drug programs, etc. It's all a distraction because they want the guys in Congress to do their work incognito. And since Donald Trump played the press like a fiddle with the jet, that is exactly what started to happen. All night last night, they were marking up this bill. All night last night, all day yesterday afternoon, they were marking up the bill. While the mainstream media, for the most part, was hyperventilating about this Qatari 747 that's 13 years old and whether what would it take to retrofit it? Look, let's be clear here. It won't be retrofitted. It'll cost more to retrofit that jet than to build a whole damn new thing. Let me explain why. None of the guts of that plane is worth anything as far as Air Force One is concerned. EMP, one of the things that the Air Force One is protected against would mean ripping out every piece of wire in there to ensure that it has a EMP compliant wiring, which means if there's a nuclear blast in the vicinity, the electromagnetic radiation wouldn't cause the pulse to knock out all the instruments in that Air Force One. That's not in commercially available airplanes, so that will have to be ripped out. Likewise, there are countermeasures that Air Force One has to protect it against missiles, etc., heat-seeking missiles. There are jamming equipment there to protect against guided missiles and to protect against different types of signals that would try to bring down the airplane. This plane has none of that. And if you believe that anybody advising Donald Trump really believes that we would spend the necessary money to do something that is near impossible after it's built, to redo that plane, that's not in the cards at all. So the only reason to bring up that this is going to be Air Force One and it has to be modified, etc., is to take us off of our game, so that we spend all the time discussing this as we are. I'm looking at the video on MSNBC right now, and it says Representative Torres calls for ethics probe into plane gift. No, we don't need an ethics probe into the plane gift. We know that it's unethical already. Torres need to be concentrating on what the damn Republicans are doing in Congress right now to Medicaid and to SNAP and to Meals on Wheels and all these programs. Stop wasting your time on frivolous issues. Is $400 million frivolous? Yes. If you really want to learn about the graft that's afflicting Donald Trump right now, it's not a $400 million plane. It's a $2 billion investment in his coin. It's a several billion-dollar investments in Truth Social. That's where the grift is really occurring. Smoke and mirrors. As we are talking about a $400 million plane, they are talking about billions of dollars in Bitcoin, or I should call it into the crypto coin that Donald Trump is getting a lot of money into. While they're concentrating on all these issues, the grift that is occurring with Trump Tower Riyadh, Trump Tower Saudi Arabia, Trump Tower, and all these places, that's where the grift is. While you concentrate on a pretty plane that's on the tarmac somewhere in San Antonio or whatever, wherever it is that the Emir has the plane. Forget about that. Worry about the issues, but it shows you even Richie Torres, which is one of the most paid off Democrat that we have in Congress right now, being paid off by the Jewish lobby. He's there talking about a darn Trump plane. That's a waste of time. All right, we're going to get into the actual meat of much of what Josh Hawley had to say and the CVO report. But since Tag is already on the line, let's go ahead and listen to our brother Tag. Tag, come on in.
Good morning, everybody. I just
Good
would
morning.
like to know what happened to getting rid of the taxes on tips and taxes on Social Security and a couple other things that Trump was going to get rid of taxes on. So, when you get your Social Security check, you aren't paying a third of it out. What happened to that stuff? And maybe Barry could help us understand that, or some of the other maggot callers could help explain why we're not getting those cuts on taxes. That's in the big beautiful bill that they're doing right now. So what do you think? Do you think that your other listeners can explain that, Egberto?
No, again, this is what happens when you believe. You have some people that would be telling us, "Hey, give Trump a break. Give Trump a break." Well, if look, if you feel the need to give Trump a break, if you feel a need to go pray for Trump, okay, be my guest. But don't ask those of us who can see, who are not fooled by the grift, to sit down and take the bullet. We won't. We see the grift. If you can't see it, I feel for you. But what you just said, Tag, is one of the big examples. He gets to the MAGA base by lying to them, and they want to believe. They want to pray for him. They want us to give him a break. They want that. But I'm sorry. I care too much about most of us than to allow that to than to wait for them to cut my head off. Right? So you're absolutely right, Tag. We don't have the time. We don't have the time to put up with those who want to give this criminal a chance. We don't have that time. Right now, the CBO has come out with its report that points out that many of our fellow citizens are going to be harmed. I don't have the time to listen to anybody who tells me to give the guy a chance. The guy's in Saudi Arabia right now with horses in front of him as he gets the treatment of a king. I am sorry. We don't have the time for that. Thank you so kindly for your call, Tag. Anything else before we move on?
At the same time, they're not giving the tax cuts to for tips or Social Security. They're turning around and still talking about the $4.5 trillion tax cut for Zuckerberg and Bezos and Elon Musk. What's up with that? Those guys need a tax cut?
No, they don't. And not only they don't need a tax cut, but they build, and I repeat this, Brian hates when I say it, but it's a statement of fact. They built their wealth on legalized theft. They built their wealth on legalized theft. We created an economic system that allowed others to make billions on the backs and work and worth and intellect of all of us. Anybody wants to discuss that? That's not up for debate. That is reality. Thank you, Tag. And Glenn Ryan is in the chat. Glenn has a statement that is an actual fact. He says, Egberto, any comment on the DNC trying to push Hogg out? You won't change this duopoly from within, my friend. If they push Hogg out, it would be, look, here's the thing. Donald Trump's policies right now is going to harm so many people that I think that is the only reason the neoliberal wing of the Democratic Party, which runs the Democratic Party, that's the only chance that they have to get rid of Hogg without the party cratering. But I can tell you one thing, we will be speaking up if they get rid of Hogg. The funny thing about it is Hogg is not even a super progressive kind of a guy. Hogg is just your rank and file Democratic guy who really is right when he talks about getting rid of blue district Democrats who are just there holding space and not holding up the progressive mantra. So that's what I have to say about that, Glenn. And whether you want to accept it about changing from within or without, I can tell you the change has to come from within and without. In other words, I respect the work that you have to be doing on the outside, Glenn. Respect the work of those who are working on the inside. We need them both. You need both if you're going, because again, the way the system is designed, you will not be president if right now you're not within a party that has the power to become president. All right, let's go to, before I continue, I got to continue, but let's go to Lester. Come on in, Lester.
Yeah, man, I respect you, but the more and more I listen to you, and listen close, Derek, because I know you're going to go back and tell them, but the more and more I listen to you, Egberto, and I respect you, the more and more you sound like them grown black men on KCOH, just whine and cry every day. Just whine about Donald Trump. Number one, I went to the grocery store yesterday. Egg prices are down, milk prices, everything is affordable in my opinion. Gas prices are on the way down. So all this gloom and doom that you constantly spew out, and them guys on KCOH constantly spew out, it just ain't true. And then y'all talk about health care, affordable health care. So start eating right. Stop going to Frenchie's Chicken. Stop eating chitlins and hog maws and pork chops. You know, start eating right. Start exercising. That would help out a whole lot. That's your medicine. And then what's wrong with Donald Trump accepting a gift? Most of these jokers that call in, most of them jokers that call at other radio stations, they work on jobs and they know they bosses are racist, but do they turn down that Christmas bonus? Do they turn down that other bonus that racist boss give them? Shut up and quit whining. Thank you, Egberto. I'm going to hang up and listen because I don't want to hold up the line. Bye.
All right, go ahead. Lester is a prototypical, what I would call MAGA until it actually hurts Lester. Okay? Now, here's the thing. And by the way, I didn't interrupt Lester because I wanted to hear Lester's full thought. That is what we're up against. We're up against somebody that's wired in such a manner that facts becomes whining and lies become okay. And when you have that mixture, the only thing that folks like that understand is when it happens directly to them. He said he went to the grocery store and eggs prices are down. He said he went to the grocery store and and he named all these things out. True. Let me just say a few other things, right? Here's the interesting thing. The tariffs, right, went from 145% to 30% from China, and everybody is happy, right? Again, this is how Trump works. You put things extraordinarily high so that when you drop it down to just high, those who are not thinking, those who are not read, they can simply sit back and say, oh, look, the prices went down. Well, not really. The tariffs from China went from an average of 3% to 30%. That's 10 times what it was before, 1,000% what it was before. So you have increased the cost to those important products by 1,000%. Let's be clear here. And again, when you have people that you intentionally, and Lester says he respects me. Okay, I respect you too, Lester, but you're simply wrong. And you're simply uninformed. And you are simply unempathetic. Because while it's not happening to you right now, likely because you're older, likely because you're in your Social Security retirement, etc., you're thinking about yourself only, brother. Look, let me tell you, before I started doing this, I was doing extraordinarily well. Not so much now because, again, this doesn't pay. And I've gone through my funds, just about all of it, because I believe more in, you're speaking to a person who sold several damn licenses to Boeing for over $10,000 because of the product I made and felt guilty as hell because I realized how easy it was for Boeing to pay that. Ultimately, it was going to be paid by those who had no pricing power. And because I believe in empathy, because I'm an empathetic person, because many people out there, progressives, are empathetic. They don't just say what's happening to me. They say, but what's happening to my fellow brothers and sisters? You speak when you call here about pray for the person. Or you give the Christian response that many like to give. But it always seems that those who profess the most Christianity, it always seems that those who profess the most benevolence for others are the ones that care the least. Because again, you have to see through the eyes of the least, through the eyes of those who are suffering, through the eyes of those who are not going to have that health care, through the eyes of those who are going to die. When I look at our Congress, our representatives in Austin, it drives me not just upset, but asking the question: how can rural America vote for those folks who are throwing vouchers out there that's going to kill their schools, throwing a healthcare system that's going to close their hospitals, and then sing glory, glory, hallelujah, and then talk about I care? You know why? Because these are the same people that don't have an issue with looking you in the eye and lying to you, because they know who you really are. Come on in, Donald.
Good morning, Dorothy. How you doing today? I'm going to get you some red slippers, but you need to come up with your dog, because you do have the brain, you do have the heart, you do have the courage. Now, you're saying that the airframe power plant, all that's good on this thing, but the avionics has to be changed out and retrofitted at a cost of XYZ. Who cares? That's not what you're looking at. Now, I got a story for you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, one other thing. Hey, when you're peeling onions, as you was peeling some last week, you're going to get tears in your eyes. You're going to find out some of them layers for people that are around you just don't think the right way, because they don't care what they get and what it costs.
Yeah.
And they don't care if they have to exploit women and children in other third world countries, or why do we even call them third world? We're the one that are making it that way. There's enough to go around. Africa is not a poor nation. They just exploit their people very well, and that was part of the slave trade also. But
Amen.
Back to the other one. I got a story for you. The other day, I was in a store, and there was somebody in front of me. I'm not going to say anything, but they were using their magic card, and there wasn't enough money on it. Now, I watched, and I saw that they had chocolate-covered donuts, powdered-covered donuts, soda pops, all this other garbage. Now, what happened is they were short, and she had stepped away, but the two kids had already started eating the stuff. Now, this is a 12-year-old girl and her sisters. This guy behind the counter starts getting irate, calling them out, and it pissed me off. And I stepped over in front of him, and I'm cutting him with my hand, like cut it out. And I'd already put the money from what it was short on the counter. But I wanted to grab him and pull him across the counter. So anyways, the little kid thanked me, and on the way out, that was worth $1 million to me. I found a penny on the ground. So the $2.12 I paid only cost me $2.11. But the look of gratitude in her face made me happy. But what made me pissed is we give people free food, but we don't educate them on what's healthy and not healthy.
Oh man, you're a genius.
This all went into effect. These damn sellouts we got in Congress and everything else. So I think the kids should have a treat. I mean, if they're in really need, I don't think, because they passed up the apples, bananas, oranges, and the milk to go get that garbage. So you think the people that are selling the garbage are the ones that are benefiting the most? Because think about it. If you don't have to work to pay for that, you'll spend it however you want. And I see it a lot in what the grocery baskets have. Then they whip the magic card out. And if you need it, you need it. I'm not saying that. But the problem is we influx all these people, but every 10 years we only have a census. So the number and the money and all the funds are going willy-nilly all over the place. We're not able to manage this. But who is benefiting the most out of this SNAP, the TANF, all the other garbage? It's these corporations selling all this garbage out there that get them addicted when they're children, get them into obesity, get them to buying the health care, get them all this other garbage. So we need to fix and educate first. And that's all I got to say.
Wait, but Donald, hold on. I don't want you to leave yet, because I want to tell you that, and folks, this guy, Donald, ain't no progressive dude, okay? This guy is just a human being. And what he just said there is so very important, my MAGA brother. It's so very important. He said two important things. He saw the suffering in that person's eyes, the shame of, oh my, I can't have this. My kids already, or I'm already eating this thing, and watching somebody else make a fool out of that person. But at the same time, he understands something important. Education is everything. And we are uneducated whether we are on food stamps or not. Because we go into these grocery stores and buy the things that are unhealthy for us, but God, Donald, they taste so good. I mean, you're absolutely right, Donald. And the empathy that you speak about, if a few more of us had that, we wouldn't need welfare. We wouldn't need any of that stuff. Because you know what? Inherent to our being would be a people who, back in other countries, there ain't no welfare, right? And, people are, to American standards, are poor. To their standards, they're rich because everything is shared when one is in need. And nobody's trying to take advantage of the other or not work or anything like that. You always have your bombs in every society. But ultimately speaking, hey, Donald, uh, I always like listening to you. Thank you for those words. Those were those were the words of humanity, brother. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yes, sir. You too. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you, my man. All right, let's talk to Harry. But I do want to get into the subject today, guys. Come on in, Harry.
Good morning, Roberto.
Good
Yeah,
morning, my
Donald.
brother. And by the way, Harry, I want to commend you for writing in the chat yesterday on the
Oh, yeah.
afternoon show. I love that you write your stuff down in there. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, Donald's right about you have to eat healthier. I don't always eat. I eat healthy things, but I eat some healthy things, unhealthy things. Because you're right, brother. It does taste good, and some of the church will give me when I get my food from the church. Some of it's good stuff, and some of it is stuff probably shouldn't be eaten. But I love their cookies and their cake because it tastes so good. And what I mainly call about Lester's right about the health part. But Lester, have you ever heard of the emolument clause? Presidents are not supposed to take gifts from foreign countries. Maybe you have not heard of that. Look it up. So you are dead wrong when you say what's wrong with Trump trying to accept an airplane, a gift from Qatar. No, there's something called the emolument clause. You're not supposed to do that. And when he was president before, I believe somebody was trying to, one of those foreign countries was trying to give him a gift before, and he wanted to accept it. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but one of those countries when he was president the last time. And people were talking about that. I remember Nancy Pelosi, some of the other people were talking about he's violating the emolument clause. He's not supposed. Actually, I think it was when he was trying to bribe Zelensky and the Ukraine. He was trying to bribe them and trying to accept. And I remember Nancy Pelosi spoke right up, and some of the others said he's not supposed to be doing that. That's why they impeached him. So no, this Eberto is right. This president is, with his policies, is going to do a lot more harm. And I think I heard Deborah Arnie-Arnesen this morning mentioning that as well, that this president, with his ideas, especially, and I've heard you mention it too, Eberto, in the red states, if he gets his way, the people in the red states, he's MAGA folk, and, I like a lot of things you say, Donald, but you're MAGA too. Unfortunately, they're going to get hurt more, as Arnie pointed out, than the ones in the blue states, if this president is able to get a lot of his agenda across. So hopefully a lot of these moderate Republicans will continue to stand up and push back against this president and not pass that budget reconciliation tax cut for these wealthy people. I know they passed it in the House, but it doesn't pass.
Harry, let me just point out this, okay? The Republican who is fighting against the bill right now are not are not your rank and file Republicans. It's your MAGA Republicans. It's Josh Hawley who wrote the article. I'm going to go through that in a little bit, but let me jump to Bruce. Harry, thank you for your call, brother. You have a good one. Let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Good morning, Alberto. How are you?
I am fine, my brother. Talk to me.
I just got 2 quick points. First, the previous caller was right about the emolument clause that's in the Constitution. Jimmy Carter was harassed for 2 years because his mother drew a pension from a peanut processing plant. Hillary Clinton had to give a necklace back because it was a gift from a foreign government, and that's not allowed. But the main reason I called was when MAGA argues that Trump said he's not going to touch Medicaid. All right, you got to remember Charles Manson used to argue in court. I didn't stab Sharon Tate or Miss Folgers. I'm done.
Yeah. And thank you very much, Bruce. You know what he means? He didn't have to do it. He had those who would do it for him, but they knew what he wanted. Is that right, Bruce? Is that the analogy you wanted to make?
That is the analogy I wanted to make, Alberto. Thank you for condensing it.
Thank you, Bruce. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Let's go to Brother Patrick. Come on in, Patrick. You're on,
good morning.
Patrick. Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I didn't want to take away from what Donald did. It was very nice of him, but I did want to point out that had they not sold donuts, they probably would have been thrown away. The capitalism model for donut shops is that you throw away about 40 to 50% of your product at the end of the day, so you don't run out. Those donuts are that cheap. It's just flour and sugar.
Well, sugar and fat, yeah.
Yeah. Next, what happened to our freedom? I don't understand why people are choosing what a poor person should and shouldn't eat. It's their body. If we had health care that was sponsored and we were all paying for it and it was good, maybe we could do something about telling people what they should and shouldn't eat. And that's something that used to be taught, and we no longer want to pay taxes, and so classes like that are no longer taught. So they're not so much a victim, and yes, they were just getting a treat possibly, but if somebody wants to eat that way their whole life, that's their prerogative. And the way the rich spend and the way the rich eat, they do it and they get away with it, and we never say anything. It's only the poor that work.
I agree with you, Patrick. Let me in defense of Donald, where I agree with. I do think, and I think you're saying the same thing too. Education would have people make other choices. Look, I love a good apple fritter. I mean, I love a good apple fritter. There's a donut shop out here that sells these apple fritters that, oh my God, it probably have 600-700 calories for that apple fritter. It's just good melting in your mouth. I know I should only have that. I probably shouldn't have it at all, but I don't do. I do it in moderation, and I exercise a lot. So I mean, if we had people learning some of these things in school, then they will still have the freedom to make a choice, and most folks would, somewhat make good choices. Go ahead, Patrick.
That's for this call, and yeah, no, that's it for this call. And I'm not trying to take away from Donald. Everything he did was nice. I just wanted to point out that there are things that we should all work on, and that capitalism
agreed
caused that guy to get angry over nothing because he was
agreed. Agreed. But I tell you one thing that I didn't know. I didn't know that the model for the donut shop was that 40% of the donuts are thrown away. I just learned that. That's interesting. I didn't know that. But I mean, you know what?
That's how much they charge you, and that's how cheap they are.
Wow. That is an interesting thing, right? It's amazing because it is said that we waste, I don't remember what percentage of all our foods right here in the United States. And I guess that's the model, right? In order for everybody to have choices, and because you can't know what everybody wants, you make a lot of everything and then a whole lot waste, I guess. So, hey, thank you, Patrick. I'll see you at 3, brother.
Yes, sir. You build that into the price. So we're all paying people to throw stuff away.
Capitalism, brother. Thank you, my brother. You have a good one. See you at 3. All right, let's go to Jimmy. Come on in, brother Jimmy.
Good morning, Egberto. I've got some good ideas on how to eat healthy and be healthy. First of all, eat natural foods, not processed foods. Eat your vegetables, eat your fruits, eat your nuts. Skip your cakes, your cookies, your donuts. I have to admit that I do eat some ice cream every day. I love my ice cream, but eat the natural foods and skip the processed foods. And another thing, I learned years and years ago, I will not get diabetes if I do two things. That is, keep my weight down and stay active. Walk, do your walking, do your exercising. All that's good for your body and keep your weight down. Don't just sit there all day long watching television. But you can get your beans also out of canned beans. You need protein, so get your protein from eggs,
Hey,
beans, and nuts.
Jimmy, I want to stop you because I want to give you kudos. By the way, Jimmy is the same guy who caused me to do that entire rant on Walmart. And we still have to go have some coffee to get some stuff discussed, brother. But let me just tell you guys a little bit about Jimmy. Jimmy, you're over 90 now, right?
I'm 91.
Yeah, Jimmy is 91 years old. I know Jimmy personally. He's a part of Houston Peace and Justice Center with us, and he goes to every activity that we have. And Jimmy is not just spouting this stuff. Jimmy eats right. He looks good. He exercises. I want to grow up to be like Jimmy. So, so Jimmy is not just talking, man. Jimmy is not just talking. But Jimmy, we gotta talk about this Walmart stuff. So the next time you see me, we gonna sit down with a cup of coffee. You hear me?
People love Walmart. They get more products at lower cost.
Brother Jimmy, you
More
heard what
choices at
brother
lower cost.
Jimmy, you heard what I said. We're going to have some coffee, my dear brother. All right?
That's great. We'll meet at Jason's Deli and we'll have a salad bar. A
We'll
salad
do.
bar is the best thing to eat.
We're gonna do
With
it,
hot
man. We're we're gonna do it. But brother, I need to speak a little bit about Medicaid before I leave the show today. So let me talk to you later on, and let's get to Janice so I can get to the program. All right, have a good one, Jimmy. But here's the deal. Uh, Uju says Donald is the definition of critical thinking. Much respect to him. John A says the airplane is a distraction, like we've been speaking about. And Joe says food. My best friend, educated, moderately wealthy, died of disease and gout, eating osso buco and creme brulee. I hear you, girl. Welcome, Jennifer, Hunter, Linda Carson, Cinda Husky, JRC, Cheryl Elkins. A lot of you guys, but I love you all. Let's go to Johnny. Johnny, what's up?
Every time I hear Jimmy Dunn, I think of him in his 60s, like I did back in the day when he was active at KPFT.
Yes. Jim is a great guy. Jim is a great guy. I mean, he looks good. That's the thing. He looks good, and he's 91. Who the hell's gonna tell this guy what or how to eat? He proved himself. Talk to me, Johnny.
The only thing we got to work on him is his understanding of Walmart, but that's something in progress. That's a work in progress. So the people who like to ride on their bikes, I mean motorcycles, they're hogs. They like to hang out at their bar down there on Texas Avenue. These guys would love to tell somebody that doesn't look like them how to eat if they find out they're on public assistance. But they would have their panties in a knot if you were so bold as to tell them whether or not they should have a helmet on their head when they're on their motorcycle, because we, as a society, ultimately pay for their injuries if they get into a serious wreck.
Joanne from Los Angeles, when she spoke about creme brulee and also buco, in effect, she's saying that why do some people get to do certain things and we don't complain about it? Just like you're talking about the motorcycle, Johnny. Same inference. Thank you for that, Johnny. Johnny, I need to get two more calls, but I need to do these quickly because I've got to talk about Medicaid real quick.
You have my proceed, my son. Proceed.
Thank you, sir. You have a good one, okay? Let's go to Brother Steve. Come on in, Steve, line one. Steve, you're on.
Oh, hello. Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning,
Hey,
my brother.
brother,
Talk to me.
I want to thank you for everything that you do. But you know, I'm the same guy. I called you about 2 months ago, and I think I kind of gave you a heads up warning, not that you needed, on this guy that calls himself Lester, right?
Yes, I remember well. I remember well.
Yes, yes. And you know, he does this thing, and I noticed this pattern, you know, because a few weeks ago he called you and he said that you remind him of the weatherman. Do you recall?
Yes, I do. Al Roker.
And yes, Al Roker. And then I guess a week later, you reminded him of his mother and father that all they do is just go to church. You recall?
Yes, I do.
I laid here and I laughed. And, you know, and it pisses me off because I'm a 68-year-old citizen, 68-year-old senior citizen who, when I listen to your show, I listen to learn, okay? And I told you that this guy is non-serious. When he calls shows, all he wants is attention. He craves attention, all right? He reminds me of guys that were in school. When you want to learn and you have the class clown, okay? And all the class clown does, he wants to joke. He breaks up the learning process. And you have to take your valuable time away from people like me that wants to be educated. See, I hate that you have to take your time away. Set him outside the door.
Steve, can I answer that to some extent? And I know it frustrates a lot of people in the know. And the thing about it is you are in the know. But let me tell you one of the reasons I entertain the Lesters and others that have this misinformation. Because while you are open to learning all of the times, and I am as well, there are some people that are listening to the rubbish that these people talk about. But that if there's a trucker that's going through Houston that is a MAGA kind of guy, but is relatively open-minded, but he had never heard anything else before. And he hears that interaction between that Lester says, which is right up his alley, and then he gets a chance to hear the response that I give. That is somebody that actually is gonna, like, even though Lester is immutable, Lester will not change because he's exactly how as you have described. But others that are not patently that, I'm not going to use that word, but patently that way, they will actually be open to the message because Lester brought them in, because others bring them in. And that's the theory that I work on, which I just have to say this for a reason. I wrote a book called It's Worth It, How to Speak to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. And the reason I wrote that was to tell people, hear these guys out because others are listening, and then go ahead with civility, make the point. And I'm not going to change Lester, and I know that, but I'm going to change a lot of people who think like Lester. Continue, my brother, and then I'll go to Brian.
I'll say this and leave. Once again, I appreciate what you do, but when you are dealing with a self-hating, especially black man, like he is, I've been listening to him, and he knows who I am in Trinity Gardens. Hey, he's been doing this for the last 30 years, and I know you're not trying to change it.
Yeah.
You're not trying to change it because most of the time people will not know how ignorant we are until we start speaking.
Talking, yes.
And I've been listening to him locally for a long time. He just started voting, by the way. And like I told you, he just found Christianity. He hasn't always been doing that. And I still think he's looking for Christianity. I'm certain of that. He's still looking. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, my brother, and thank you for the commentary. Okay, and you know what? What else, Steve? Thank you for listening. The fact that you can go through all these different shows, I love you, man. Thank you for listening to the program, okay? All right, let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I want to touch back on what I was talking about yesterday, about how much I don't care about how much my employer makes. As long as he matches my 6% Social Security income, I don't care how much he makes. I really don't. As long as that man hires someone to do the proper paperwork, to fill out the forms necessary to keep us in business such as fire alarm permits, occupancy permits. I don't care how much money he makes. I really don't. When you sit down for a job interview and he says, okay, I'm going to pay you this much for the job, it's up to you to accept it, yes or no. It's your own individual skill set that keeps you employed. If you don't think you're making enough money, just quit. Somebody's going to pay you more money somewhere. You know, the world is full of burger flippers and ditch diggers. Not everybody can be a rocket surgeon, you know. You want somebody to make $100,000 a year to flip burgers, but yet you hate someone that makes $100,000 a year for being a CEO. We have a minimum wage here in the United States, but you want a maximum wage for a CEO that has to control 10,000 people. You know, I don't understand your thinking.
Okay, thank you,
This
Brian.
nation is a nation of doers.
Okay, I get it. Thank you, Brian. I get your point, and I'm gonna answer your commentary right now. But I need to also get to Medicaid, so I need 2 minutes from it, 3 minutes from Medicaid. But here's the answer. Capitalism love your way of thinking, right? They love your way of thinking because you're right. I'm not going to argue with you that if you don't get the amount of money, you can quit. But if you have capitalism, collusionary capitalism, doesn't matter because the other person isn't going to hire. But number two, you are under the premise that you don't care what that person who's paying your 6%, actually 6 point something percent in their portion of Social Security. As long as they do that, you're happy. You don't understand enough in economics that the amount that they grab out of the system of a fixed pie affects how much you can be paid and how much others can pay. So if you don't worry about what they are making and what they are doing outside of what they pay you, not only are you irresponsible, but you just don't get economics as it's practiced in capitalism. Because what that wealthy person makes or what that wealthy person pays in taxes affects you, whether you want to accept it or not. It affects you. So therefore, if there's one big pie and they're maximizing their version of the pie, it affects you. But you, again, when we have enslaved mentality, we just say, Massa, what else do you want from me? Massa, can I do this for you? Massa, thank you for paying. Massa, thank you for the thank you for the 6%. So therefore, my brother, you are proving all the points. I mean, that is an enslaved mind, sir. That you only care about as long as Massa gives you what enough to make you a little bit happy. It's called bread and circus. I mean, your behavior speaks it. My brother, your behavior says, I am not calling you a slave. I said you're behaving as one with an enslaved mind. And you already proved the point when you said it, sir. You said you don't care about anything as long as Massa pays you 6%. It's good. I get it. Thank you. Have a great day, sir. All right. All right. You see? All right, folks, let's do it. A lot of folks talk about why they're lying about Medicare. Well, there are two big evidences that came out this week as we were hyperventilating about the plane. The CBO yesterday, I think it was, released that it is based on the numbers that Republicans currently have. 7.6% of people will lose their health insurance, and another 10 million will have their health care reduced. Okay, and it goes further than that. This is just preliminary based on the cuts that they currently have. And we know that for all the MAGA folks that are out there saying, no, you're not telling the truth. You're not telling the truth. The other important statement is that Josh Hawley, one of the biggest MAGAs out of Missouri, has come out and he has said, hey, it is true. we are no longer the party of the work, or we are not the party of the working class. But let's go with Uju. Instead of me talking, I want Uju to come in because she always has great commentary. Uju, come on in.
Hi, Edberta. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great week so far. I'm calling. I know you have to go quick points. I would like next time Brian calls, two things. I want to know what Brian's net worth is. I'm genuinely curious if he's actually sat down and figured out what his net worth is. Because, like you said, the enslaved mindset is we have been taught that it's okay to get our 6% because we're the serfs, and we should be so grateful that they've given us 6%. But no one ever stops and thinks about it. How come they get to have more and we get to just be content with our 6%? Think about it. Brian, why are you okay with 6% when your employer takes 200%? It's not fair. That's the point. It's not fair. We have to get out of the mindset that it's okay for billionaires to have extra yachts of whatever they claim to be their genius minds, which they're not. But we, the serfs, who are actually the reason why this country is even functioning, because we are the workers. How come it's okay for us to be okay with 6%? That's all I got to say. Why
Thank you.
do we have to humble and settle for 6%, but they get to have 230 and 2 million percent? Why is that? Ask yourself that question, and maybe you can start critically thinking. And again, let's not get distracted. Due process matters, and they're going to cut Medicaid. Thank you, and everyone have a great day.
Thank you very much. And it's so important. I got to go to the studio, but it is so important. It's not an insult to say you have an enslaved mind. At some point, we all had enslaved minds until we decided to take the chains off. And we are taking the chains off. Go ahead, studio.
Oh, not a whole lot here. Was always very entertained by Brian and his thoughts. A rocket surgeon? Yeah, okay. I'm going to go apply for that one. All right, Jack, what you got, man?
All right. You know, sugar is a very addictive substance, and they start selling it to us when we're real young. Grocery stores sell addictive products. Look at the chip aisles, look at the cookie and candy aisles, look at the sodas and soft drink aisles. It's all
Thank you,
addictive.
brother. All right. Love you all, my brothers and sisters. Everyone. You too, Brian. You know I love you too, Brian. Anyway, folks, you can go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter for the rest of the show. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. You can email me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com, kpft@politicsdoneright.com. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to